Have you ever wondered what happens when the most cunning being in existence dares to challenge the Creator himself? Imagine a question so audacious that it shakes the foundations of heaven and earth. A being so defiant he boldly claims, Iblis, I will lead your creation astray. They will crumble in sin, but even then they will not escape me. The challenge was clear. The rebellion was set, and the stage for one of the greatest upheavals in human history was about to unfold. Before we dive deeper, let me remind you, this is not just a story, this is your story, the journey from Adam to today. Every act, every choice, every triumph, and every tragedy is reflected in the pages of this story. So settle in, take a deep breath, and remember you are part of this unfolding saga. The Bible speaks of a time when humanity had grown corrupt and wicked. Genesis recounts that God observed the earth and saw that every imagination of the thoughts of human hearts was only evil continually. God was grieved and decided that a great cleansing was necessary. The Torah too narrates how the wickedness of mankind had reached its peak and the earth was filled with violence and lawlessness. God in his mercy chose a righteous man, Noah, to survive and preserve life, and the Quran confirms in Surah Hud and Surah al-Mu'minin that Allah sent Noah as a warner to his people, yet they mocked and denied the signs until the flood engulfed them. It began with whispers, the whispers of Iblis slithering through the hearts of men, tempting them with lies and lust and greed. Iblis, having been cast out from the divine presence, had vowed revenge. His words were sharp, his schemes cunning. He planted seeds of doubt and rebellion and watched humanity twist and turn in their desires. He said to himself, this is only the beginning, soon the world will forget its creator and chaos will reign. And yet there was Noah, a beacon of steadfast faith amidst the overwhelming darkness. He built the ark as commanded by God. Every plank, every nail, every rope was a testament to obedience and courage. Yet the people laughed, they mocked, they called him mad. How could a man build a vessel for a flood that had never been seen? Some tried to join, but the fear of ridicule outweighed the fear of God. The tension was unbearable, the stakes unimaginably high. Do you feel the dread? Do you feel the suspense as the clouds gathered and the winds whispered of doom? The sky darkened a foreboding gray, the rivers swelled and the oceans churned as if nature itself knew the reckoning had come. Iblis reveled in the fear and confusion. He had played his hand perfectly, and yet Noah's trust in God did not waver. The divine command was absolute: prepare the ark, gather the pairs of every creature and step aboard, for salvation waits only for the faithful. Imagine standing on the banks watching the first drops fall. Imagine hearing the laughter of the mocking turning into screams as torrents of rain began to lash the land. The ark rocked and creaked under the weight of destiny, and the cries of the unbelievers echoed across the plains. This was not just water, this was judgment, this was history rewriting itself in waves of fury. And here is the moment to realize how fragile life is, how thin the line between obedience and destruction is, how one being's defiance can set the world ablaze, and yet one man's faith can shield an entire future. Noah had no fear, he had no doubt, he only had trust in the promise and the command of God. And as the rains intensified, the ark rose, and the world as it was known began to disappear beneath the rising waters. The sky was no longer just gray, it had turned into a canvas of terror. Lightning cracked across the heavens, illuminating the rising waters below. The winds howled like armies of the damned, and the earth shivered under the weight of divine wrath. Do you feel it? The panic, the horror, the disbelief that gripped every heart that had chosen to ignore the warning of Noah. Iblis watched from the shadows, his eyes glinting with triumph. He had whispered lies into every ear, he had planted seeds of mockery and defiance, and now the moment of reckoning had arrived. The rains poured relentlessly, each drop a hammer on the stubborn arrogance of mankind. Rivers spilled over their banks, swallowing homes and fields alike. Animals fled in terror, seeking shelter on higher grounds or the safety of the ark. Some of the people tried to run, but the earth had turned against them. The ground became slippery mud, the roads turned into rivers, and in every scream of desperation Iblis laughed, his triumph echoing like a thunderclap across the drowning valleys. Noah and his family moved tirelessly inside the ark, every movement a prayer, every glance a plea to God for protection. The pairs of every creature huddled together, some frightened, some confused, yet guided by divine command to safety. The doors of the ark sealed as the waters rose higher, engulfing everything that had once been familiar. The air was thick with fear, the cries of the lost echoing into the stormy skies. And then came the unimaginable. The very mountains seemed to bow as the water swallowed the lands. Entire civilizations vanished beneath the flood as if they had never existed. The Torah recounts that the waters prevailed exceedingly upon the earth, and every living substance on the face of the earth perished as commanded by God. The Bible records that the fountains of the great deep were broken up and the windows of heaven were opened. The Quran emphasizes in Surah Al-Qamar that the flood overwhelmed the people and that only the ark with the faithful remained safe. Imagine for a moment standing on the deck of the ark, watching a world vanish around you, families torn apart, children crying for parents who were swept away by the rage of nature. The storms, not just wind and water but a reflection of the chaos sown by Iblis throughout history. All that humanity had built, all that they had cherished, all that they had ignored as sin, now reduced to a torrent of unforgiving water. Yet amidst the chaos Noah's faith did not waver. He looked out across the storm and prayed with a heart full of trust. He did not curse the world nor harbor hatred, he only trusted the command of God. The creatures aboard responded instinctively, sensing the protection that encompassed them. The ark was a vessel not just of wood but of divine mercy and promise. Do you feel the emotional weight, the despair of the drowning, the shock of witnessing civilization crumble? Yet there is hope, there is salvation, there is a lesson etched into every wave. Every storm has a purpose, every act of faith, every righteous choice is magnified in the eye of calamity. And Iblis, though triumphant in deceit, could not touch the sanctity of obedience and faith. The greatest test had begun. The waters had become a proving ground for mankind, the challenge of good against the overwhelming tide of evil. And now, as the ark drifted on the rising floodwaters and the storm raged mercilessly around them, let us pause for a moment to reflect. This story is your story. Every trial, every tempest, every moment of despair is mirrored in your own journey from Adam to now. And remember, this channel, this story, it is yours to witness, to understand, to learn the consequences of choice and the power of faith. Let this be a reminder that when chaos reigns and the world mocks righteousness, your faith can carry you through the greatest storms. The waters were merciless, the storm unrelenting, every wave a roar of divine judgment, every gust of wind a reminder of the chaos sown by Iblis. The world as it had been known was gone, only the ark floated, a solitary beacon of hope amidst the endless, furious sea. Do you feel it? The horror, the despair, the unimaginable loss that gripped every soul outside the ark, every home, every city, every living being swallowed by the wrath of nature and the cunning of rebellion. Iblis hovered invisibly in the hearts of men. He had done what he promised. He had led humanity astray, yet he could not touch the ark. He could not break the faith of Noah or his family. The Quran reminds us that Allah's command is supreme, that the faithful are protected even when the world collapses around them. In Genesis, the Bible recounts that Noah found favor in the eyes of the Lord despite the overwhelming wickedness around him. The Torah also affirms that Noah was righteous among his generation and that his obedience was a shield against the flood. Inside the ark, Noah and his family tended to the creatures, guiding them, calming the frightened, and ensuring survival. Every moment was a battle against despair, every sound a reminder of the devastation outside. The cries of the lost reached them through the storm, but they could only watch helplessly, their hearts heavy yet their faith unwavering. They knew the flood was not punishment alone, but a lesson, a reset, a chance for humanity to reflect upon its failings. Do you feel the suspense as the ark rocked violently, the animals responding instinctively, the boards creaking under the relentless force of water? Do you feel the emotion as Noah prayed for the people who had mocked him for years, who had refused the warning? He did not rejoice in their suffering but grieved for their ignorance. Iblis seethed with frustration. His plan was not complete, his victory incomplete. The very obedience of Noah was a thorn in his side, a reminder that even his cunning could not overcome divine will. Days turned into nights and nights into days, yet the storm did not relent. Every sunrise a glimmer of hope obscured by dark clouds, every sunset a reminder of the power of the flood. Yet within the ark there was calm, there was faith, there was life preserved against all odds. And as the waters began to subside slowly, ever so slowly, the ark came to rest upon the mountains. The storm had passed, but the lesson remained etched in every heart. The earth cleansed, the wicked gone, and the righteous preserved. And now, friends, this is where we pause to reflect and remember this story is not just about a flood, it is about the consequences of rebellion, it is about the triumph of faith, it is about the fact that your choices, your obedience, your trust can shape the future just as it did in the days of Noah. And remember, this channel, this story, it is yours, it is a mirror to your journey from Adam to today. Every challenge, every temptation, every moment of doubt, every victory of faith is part of your story. So take this lesson to heart. As the ark rested on Mount Judy and Noah emerged to rebuild and restore life upon the earth, so too can you rise above the storms in your own life. Let this story be a guide, a warning, a source of inspiration, and always remember that the journey from Adam to today is a story of survival, faith, and divine mercy, and that you as Adam's filiation are part of it. Every time you face challenges, remember Noah, and remember that obedience and trust can withstand even the fiercest storms. The waters had receded slowly, revealing a world unrecognizable. The mountains rose like islands above a landscape once familiar, now drowned in memory. Humanity had been humbled, utterly wiped clean, except for the righteous Noah and his family. Every step they took on the wet, barren land was heavy with the weight of survival, every breath filled with the scent of fresh earth and the lingering memory of the flood's fury. Iblis watched, seething, the arrogance of mankind crushed, yet still he whispered from the shadows. He tempted the survivors with subtle doubts, fear, anger, envy. His voice was a hiss in the wind, saying, "Will you not rebuild as you were before? Will you not forget the lessons? Will you not stumble again?" The cunning of Iblis had not ended with the flood. He sought to undo even the remnants of faith and obedience. Noah and his family began the monumental task of rebuilding. They guided the creatures to new habitats, ensured that life spread across the cleansed earth. They planted crops, tended the soil, and called upon God with every step, every act a prayer, every breath a reminder of divine mercy. The Bible recounts that Noah began anew, establishing vineyards, and life blossomed again. Genesis says, "The Lord blessed Noah and his sons and told them to be fruitful and multiply," and the Quran confirms that Noah and the faithful were guided to continue life and spread goodness upon the earth. Yet it was not easy. The pain of loss, the grief of the drowned weighed heavily. Even as life returned, the echoes of Iblis' Whispers were never far, every laugh, every joy was tinged with the memory of what had been lost, every step forward a struggle against despair and temptation. This was the ultimate test of faith, not just in surviving the flood but in sustaining righteousness in a world newly created and full of opportunity for both good and evil. Do you feel the tension as humanity began again, the fragile trust in God tempered by fear of repeating past mistakes, the subtle tricks of Iblis trying to instill pride, arrogance, and disregard for divine guidance? The stakes were higher than ever now. It was not just survival but the challenge of shaping humanity's moral and spiritual path. The ark had saved life, but faith had to be nurtured anew. Noah's struggle became a lesson for all generations. His patience, obedience, and unshakable trust in God became the blueprint for surviving not just natural disasters but the temptations and trials that would confront mankind throughout history. The Torah emphasizes that the righteous will be protected and blessed, and that obedience leads to guidance. The Bible repeatedly highlights Noah's righteousness and favor in God's eyes, and the Quran reminds that the faithful will always find mercy and protection in God's plan. Friends, this is the moment to understand that every catastrophe, every upheaval in human history has a purpose. Every test, every storm, every challenge is not just punishment but opportunity. It is a chance to rebuild stronger, wiser, more faithful. And remember, this channel, this story, it is yours. Every drop of rain, every wave of the flood is a lesson for you as Alad Adam. Every choice you make, every act of obedience or defiance echoes through history and your own life journey. As the survivors spread across the earth, repopulating cities and villages, do not forget the lessons of Noah. The whispers of Iblis remain still in hearts, but the path of faith, the legacy of righteousness, is eternal. Let this story remind you that no matter how fierce the storm, how cunning the deception, faith, obedience, and trust in God will always prevail. The ark had come to rest atop the mountains, and the storm had finally relented. The earth, once drowned in divine judgment, began to breathe again. The sun pierced the gray clouds, casting light on a world cleansed and reborn. Do you feel the awe, the silence after the storm, the realization that life had survived, that hope had endured, and that faith had been stronger than the most destructive forces imaginable? Iblis, defeated yet unrelenting, hissed his frustrations. He had tried to destroy humanity, to prove that the children of Adam would falter and fall, but Noah's unwavering obedience had shielded life itself. His schemes, his temptations, his promises of chaos all met a wall of divine protection. Even as he lingered, he could see that evil alone cannot triumph when faith is true, when righteousness is steadfast. Noah emerged from the ark carrying not just creatures but a profound message of hope and survival. Every step he took across the wet earth was a testament to trust in God. Every word he spoke to his family, every instruction to repopulate the land, every act of care for the animals was a legacy that would echo across generations. The Bible records that Noah walked with God and found favor in his sight. He became the father of a new beginning, a guide for humanity to build again with righteousness. The Torah emphasizes that Noah's obedience preserved the line of faith and life. The Quran recounts that Noah and the faithful were saved, and that humanity had another chance to follow the path of guidance. Do you feel the emotion as the first new communities emerged? As fields were replanted, as homes were rebuilt, as life returned to the land once submerged? Every sunrise a symbol of renewal, every seed a promise, every breath a chance to honor divine mercy. And yet, the lessons of the flood were not lost. The whispers of Iblis still lingered, reminding humanity of the dangers of arrogance, greed, and heedlessness yet Noah's legacy and the ark's survival served as eternal proof. When obedience meets faith, even the most cunning schemes cannot prevail. This story is not just about the flood, it is about the timeless struggle between righteousness and rebellion. It is about the consequences of choices and the power of unwavering trust. It is a lesson for you, every viewer, every soul seeking understanding of the journey from Adam to now. Every trial, every storm, every moment of doubt, every temptation has a mirror in your life, and the choice to rise above or succumb remains yours. And now, friends, as we conclude this chapter, remember that this channel, this story, it is yours. It is a mirror to your own journey as Al-Adi Adam. It is a guide to understanding that even when the world is engulfed in chaos, when evil seems triumphant, when despair threatens to consume you, faith, obedience, and trust in God will always light the path. It is your story, your heritage, your inheritance from Adam to this very moment, and like Noah, you have the choice to survive the storms, to rebuild, to flourish, and to leave a legacy that defies even the whispers of Iblis. Let this episode be a reminder that every end is also a beginning. Every storm carries a lesson, every challenge carries an opportunity, and as you move forward in your own life, remember that the journey of humanity is your journey too. Every act of righteousness, every act of faith, every choice of obedience resonates through time, guiding, protecting, and inspiring the children of Adam. The ark now rests, but its story lives on. The flood has ended, but its message is eternal. The defiance of Iblis, the steadfastness of Noah, the survival of life, the triumph of faith over chaos. These are the truths that shape humanity's path. May you carry them in your heart, and may your journey from Adam to today be guided by the lessons of the past and the faith that endures beyond every storm.